This is how I made $11.4 thousand with less than 300 followers with just a 3-step funnel. And I'm going to show you how you can do this yourself, and all you really need to do is actually execute. Now, I also want to show you guys the cash collected we've had so far. Now, while we do have 11.4 in deals closed, we have 6.6K in cash collected. So we have a 1.5 pay, a 2.9 pay, and a 2.2 pay. And we're also set to collect $4.8 thousand more within the next 30 to 60 days. Also, I want to show you guys this DM close. This funnel is actually so good that you have your clients thanking you after you close them. So I'm gonna go over the entire thing. It's a 3-step funnel that goes over how we generate traffic, how we're able to convert that into paying leads. Now, we start off with understanding how a prospect actually turns into a client. This is very simplified into 2 things. They need to trust you, and they need to believe that you can solve their problem. Now, the problem is most people skip this step, and then they wonder why no one is even replying to their DMs. So this is essentially just authenticity and authority with your prospects. So trust, and they must believe that you can actually solve their problem. And we do that in step 1. So what you do is you actually create niche targeted content. Now, you're not going to try and hit everyone, right? By trying to speak to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So by creating niche targeted content for your ICP, you're able to get the people who actually need your service. By creating content that's specifically for your ideal client persona, then you'll be able to attract more qualified followers as compared to someone who's just trying to post to grow their social media following, to get more views, right? You're no longer optimizing for vanity metrics like views or likes or shares or follows. You're actually going for conversions and sales. So that's why you should create niche targeted content for your ideal client persona. And in order to create content for your ICP, you need to have a good understanding of who your ICP actually is. If you cannot think in your head, you cannot describe the person you're trying to speak to, then you're not going to be able to create the content. So you should first have a good foundation, understand what their thoughts are, what their struggles are, what their desires are, and then reverse your content from there. To give a few examples of what your ICP might be struggling with, they might be struggling with a lack of time. They say that they have low leads from their business. They're burning out. There's no results. Then you look at their desires, and your content should position your offer as the bridge from their struggles to the desire. And you can do this by giving them a step forward to the desire that they want, and then your offer is the realistic next step from that first step. Or you can even just give the whole thing, give the whole roadmap, and then have your offer done with you or done for them. Essentially, it just shows them the entire path. And all you do is, if you want us to take care of this for you, then book a call. Simple. After you've created your content, and this isn't actually to just get and generate leads, this also helps you build authority when you're actually outreaching later down the road, which I'll go over more in a bit. When you post niche targeted content, your step 2 is to actually set up a ManyChat automation along with the setter. Now, ManyChat automation, if you don't know what that is, it's a software that people use in order to generate leads using their Instagram page. Now, all you need to do is provide a lead magnet that solves their problem that you mentioned within the video, and after they comment a certain keyword, you'll provide them the lead magnet. Now, make sure that this lead magnet will genuinely help them and actually has the value that they're looking for, or else people will learn to avoid your content or avoid your lead magnets because they're not getting the value that they want from your ChatGPT generated lead magnets. So make sure you actually have something that they can use and is of value that they can implement today. So have your content frame this lead magnet once again as a solution. It's the realistic next step. And then from there, your setter can actually nurture those leads and book them into a call, which is the final step for niche targeted content. And the outcome we're trying to get here is to get as much book calls from your content, right? That's what we're aiming for, conversions, right? We're not looking for how many views did we get, how many likes did the last video get. No, you're trying to get as much book calls from the videos that you're making, because that's the best you can do when it comes to having a low following. By creating a micro niche, a small channel for specific people that require your product, right? You're able to get these book calls because you understand their pain point much better than anyone with 100,000 followers or 10,000 followers, right? You're making sure that you understand everything that there is about their problem, and you show that you have the expertise, you have the skills, and you have the ability to actually fix what they're going through. So that's your step 1. Now, step 2, the problem here is you only have 300 followers or less, or something around below 1,000 followers, right? And if you're below 1,000 followers, you don't have enough reach. So what you should do is to not rely with your inbound, but rather your outbound. Now, I hate outreach as much as the next person, right? Everyone does not like it. They don't like receiving it. They don't like sending it out. But this is something that you have to do if you want to reach 5 figures within the next 2 to 3 weeks with less than 300 followers. It's just how it has to be, right? And I'm not saying stop content. I'm saying do both. Do content, do outreach, and make sure that you keep growing your personal brand to a point that you don't need to do outreach anymore. And that's my goal. I don't want to do outreach anymore. And that's why I'm trying to build my personal brand the same way I'm doing it for my clients. So number 2 is to create high value targeted outreach. Now, with the high value targeted outreach, you provide upfront value. Do not do an opt-in, right? A lot of people try to do a DM opt-in. You compliment them. You say, good work. I see that this is a problem, so I made this for you. Are you interested? No. Do not even ask them if they're interested. Just send the value up front. And they will recognize that you're actually going a step further compared to your entire competition, right? People out here are trying to do the opt-in to avoid the extra work it takes. But if you are willing to put the extra step to actually create the content up front, send it to them, and get their feedback from there, then they will be much more inclined to work with you. They build more trust with you and more authority with you because you actually did the work up front instead of an opt-in. This is also why you're trying to post niche targeted content, because once you do outreach and they see that you're some guy with no profile picture, with no post, with no following, then they're not going to trust you, even if you have some good upfront value. And even if they do end up booking a call with you, chances are they will not close for a high amount. You're not going to get 2.9K payments, cash collected, if you don't have a presence online at this point, which is why you need to start doing both. Do outreach and build your personal brand. Now, step 1, this doesn't have to be Loom audits, which is what I personally do for my content agency. It can be a free edit if you're an editor. It can be a free script if you're a copywriter, a free email sequence, story sequence. It can be a free document if you're someone who's in the AI niche or in the website niche. You can give them a mock-up, something very simple. Basically something that they can see up front, or they can see the value in what you can provide, and you give them up front. Then from there, after you provide these documents, make sure that you're actually tracking every single thing. Do not let your numbers slip. If you know how well your videos are performing or how well your outreach are performing, for example, every Loom I send, we track that. When is it sent? When does the prospect see these? When do they reply? When do they eventually book? And for what day did they book? And we also see the numbers of how many we actually send out for each day. So if you're not on top of how many Looms you've sent, what's the conversion rate on each and every one, if you don't know your KPIs, then you will have a lot of leaks within your funnel. So be strict on that. Understand that without knowing your numbers, you're gonna leak a lot of leads. So we know our Loom to view ratio, we know our view to reply ratio, our replies to call ratio, and our calls to close. We know each and every step, and that is why I understood that, okay, people aren't looking at the upfront value that we're sending. They're not looking at the Looms. But the moment they see our Looms, 3 out of 4 people reply, and from those people who reply, 50% of them actually book a call. Those are pretty good numbers. All we really need to do is actually improve the view ratio, which is what we did for the next step. But this isn't something you will be able to do if you don't properly track your outreach KPIs. So outreach is a volume game, but as much as it's a volume game, since it's a volume game, it's going to be a numbers game. So do as much volume, but make sure all of that volume actually is being tracked, and you know what you need to fix with your outreach. So that's your step 2, right? You provide upfront value, you properly track your KPIs from your outreach, and number 3 is relentless follow-ups. Now, what we did to fix the view ratio, right? Only 19%, or I think less even, 15%, right? Only 15% are viewing the upfront value that we're sending currently. So what we plan to do is we've set up a follow-up system with our setter. I send the first message, and then I put the date to follow up, and then the setter just keeps working on making sure that the lead eventually either sees it or replies to it. And from there, we can decide whether or not, okay, they've seen it, they didn't reply, let's just close that lead. That's a lost cause. But it just makes sure that our views are hitting the numbers that we want. If we can get this to at least 30%, that's double of what we're currently doing, we're gonna book twice the amount of calls. That's just it. By fixing our view count, we already fix every single other KPI here, which is why it's crucial to actually track your KPIs, your numbers. If you don't know your numbers, you're cooked. I don't know what to tell you, you're cooked. But yeah, step 3, you do relentless follow-ups. Make sure that the lead magnet or the upfront value that you provide is actually getting seen. At the very least, people should see it. And once again, all this does is to book more calls into your calendar. But even if you have the perfect traffic generation system, right, you get more leads than me with your social media, you get more replies through your outreach. If you don't have step 3 dialed in, then you're not going to be able to close these calls. What you need is a bulletproof offer. What you do on your selling process after people books in a call with you is to actually start selling from there. Don't wait to sell on the call, pre-sell to them before they even get there. So what we do is we have a pre-selling sequence of emails that they receive 48 hours before the call and 12 to 6 hours before the call, right? So our first one is just a personal story of me, of my journey, of what I've been through, and this humanizes who I am. This also bridges the gap of where they've been and where they could be, because that's what I show. I show the journey of where I've been, where I've taken myself, and where I am now, and how they can get there through what I do. And a pre-selling sequence 12 to 6 hours before the email that we send is a relevant case study that they would resonate with what they are currently struggling with, and essentially position it as this could be you, right? That's the entire email title. This could be you. And then we remind them of the call in the next 6 hours, and then we share them the story of who we've helped, right? We've helped Eden and Penelope, the founders of Boring Studios, yada yada yada. What we did is we helped them with their launch, and they got 33 members through working with us. And this is a relevant case study that we share with them, right? So at the very least, people aren't coming in fully cold, even if they come from the cold outreach, right? We've provided them upfront value. They've checked our account to see what content we have. We provided them the emails to know more a bit about us and to show some social proof. And because of that, they've consumed enough content where they're willing to buy on the call. Now, once they're on the call, the software I use for calls is just Google Meet. It's free, simple, does the job. And Fathom for recording, just so we're able to actually review these sales calls. If you don't know how to do sales, there's a lot of content out there on sales scripts, on how you do discovery and how you do potentially objection handling. You're probably going to do some objection handling if you have either no social proof or less followers than you would like. But just understand the sales process. It's worth learning the skill, and it's going to help you overall. But the thing that will help you, despite your shitty sales skills, would be a bulletproof offer. So do not sell the method, sell the outcome. Now, I'm going to show you an example of what we say to our clients during the call. So the outcome we provide them is that we get them 15 to 20 qualified calls to close at more than 1,000, right? They get the minimum 1,000 for each call as long as they close them. And they spend less than 24 hours to record a month's worth of their content, where we ideate, edit, and post for them using our creator engine system. And that's going to be done in all just 90 days. There's a transformation. They get the book calls, they get the cash, and they spend less than 24 hours for their content. It hits all of the pain points, it gives them the desires that they want, and they understand where their money is essentially going to go. So do not sell the method. Don't say, we'll do your content for you, we'll edit everything for you, we will, remove all of the problem of content creation from you. No, that's just the method. What will they get after that? To layer onto that, if you do not have enough social proof or client case studies, do not overpromise. I'm telling you this, do not overpromise. You will struggle with chargebacks and bad reputations, right? Instead, just place a no-brainer guarantee, which is you reverse the risk onto you. So what we actually do is we have a split investment. We don't take everything up front. We have an initial investment to get things started, and after we 4x whatever they paid first, then that's, let's say, 15, 20 to 30K cash collected. That's when we ask for another set of payments. So that's how we structure it. So they no longer need to think whether or not they've paid too much. We're making sure that they have fixed ROI before we even take any more money from them. We don't take $1 more from them until they make their 4x their ROI, which is crazy, which is a crazy good guarantee. Like, no one's going to actually walk away from this unless they truly do not trust you, which is a problem within your content or your nurture process. And the guarantee as well that we add from the payment plan that we do is if after 30 days and they're not getting enough value, they're not booking enough calls, they're spending too much time on content, and they don't feel like it's gonna work, no questions asked, we'll give them a full refund, and they get to keep any of the content that we've created for them, and then we add another YouTube video for free. No one's running these guarantees. No one's doing these types of investments. And if you're going to do the extra mile, go the extra mile and actually do these things for them, chances are you're gonna be able to close them, right? We're currently at the 33% close rate if we look at the numbers right now. We're at the 33% close rate, which could be better, but after everything, with less than 300 followers, with just enough social proof to show that I'm not a scammer, I'm able to get 11.4 thousand in deals closed. So if you're not able to get at least 10,000 with more followers, with more social proof, then I don't know what you're doing. And this is such a simple funnel, and a lot of people think, is this really it? Is this actually going to get me to 10K? Yes. As long as you actually implement it, as long as you actually do the work, create the niche content for your ICP, make some high value outreach, which I doubt you are doing right now. You're not doing it up front. If you are, you're probably doing an opt-in, and you're going to close deals. You're going to book the calls, you're going to close deals. Here's the DM close, right? It was a DM close. We just talked a bit. They saw our upfront value, they saw the audit, and they like what we do. Explain a bit more how the system works, and yeah, we close them from there. And this is them now. Make sure that your fulfillment is actually on point, because you're gonna need these client case studies. You're gonna need these social proofs. So make sure that you have a smooth onboarding process. They're getting the support that they want. Make sure that they're actually getting the value that they want, which what we do is YouTube scripts or VSL scripts along with the entire content creation process, and just have a premium experience overall. Because your job doesn't end at client acquisition. No. Make sure that your fulfillment is dialed in, and from there you can create a ton of other assets for getting more clients, right? You can get a client interview, you can get a testimonial, you can get referrals from them. And this is why, if you want to have a sustainable business, a business that will actually succeed, make sure that your fulfillment is also on point. Don't just fix your client acquisition. Make sure that once people are in, they're getting the value that they want. Because you're not going to be able to make 10,000 per month or in a month if you're not actually providing the value that you say you do. That's how I just made $11.4 thousand with less than 300 followers. It's very simple. Implement it for yourself and let me know how it works for you. And yeah, any other questions, feel free to just DM me on Instagram at melvin.talabis and I'll reply to you there. See you then.